So, what I want to talk about is how people make behavior change. And it's really a challenge to kind of look at that. It's really a complicated process. And what I'm going to try and do is to simplify it by looking at this model that we've developed and that I've been studying for the past 30 years. So, we're looking at things called the stages of change. The stages really represent motivational and temporal dimensions of the process of change. So as somebody goes through this, it looks like it's a linear process, but it's really not, and I'll explain that a little later. The other thing that we're going to talk about are what we call the processes of change. When we think about stages, each stage has tasks associated with us. So if I'm in a pre-contemplation stage, for example, we have a task that says, I have to get this person interested and concerned, or I have to get interested and concerned in order for me to be able to get to the next step, which is really seriously considering change. So to get there, I have to use processes of change like consciousness raising and self-reevaluation and environmental reevaluation. I have to be convinced and interested and concerned that change is important to me. And so that's really what I'm talking about in terms of processes. So those two pieces of the puzzle are really at the heart of what's called the trans-theoretical model, which is really the model that Jim and I developed now more than 30 years ago, to try and simplify and try to understand how people move through this process and are able then to successfully change. So we start where people aren't ready to change, and we try to end up in this process to where people have maintained change for a long time so it becomes the norm. And that's what we're going to describe today, is kind of how to go through that process.